lack of financial literacy is at an all-time high.
I spoke to a person one time. Everything was going great in their life, so they thought, lost their job, they got like a divorce. Everything just crumbled at once, and boom, put them in a bad situation.
I mean, bro, we're on the verge of
Like one of the biggest issues, like with single-family household, is not having.
there's no one in my family that has any type of success.
Let's say that the business made 100 grand a year. They think they personally made 100 grand a year, and that's not how it works.
No, I think the number one cause for divorce is over finances.
Put an action plan together every single month and see how close you can stick to that action plan. What's going on, everybody? This is Hector Perdomo. This is Grown Man Talk with 700 Men Club, owner and founder of 700 Men Club and Angel Business Inc. I got a real good friend of mine. We do a lot of business together. I'd like to introduce Lamar Hale. I'll let you do the intro of all your businesses. I know there's a lot that you do, and then we'll just like get right into it. But I appreciate you because not only did you come for the pod, you also flew all the way down for the event that we're doing tomorrow, the Men of Tomorrow event, which we'll get into as well. But introduce yourself, a little bit about what you do, and then we'll get right into it.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to fly all the way down here to Orlando to speak at this event that you're putting on. It's a blessing as well. It means a lot to me coming from my background. I come from a single mother home. I'm the oldest of 4 kids. I won't say like life was, I wouldn't say we were poor or anything. My mom did very well for being a single mom with 4 children, but it wasn't the best, but she did her best, right? But so this means a lot to me. So I appreciate you for inviting me down. And guys, yeah, my name is Lamar Hale. I'm one of the co-founders at Impruvu. I'm a father. I'm a brother. I'm a son, like I mentioned. I've been in the financial services space for 5 years. Met Hector. What was it, like about 2 years ago? We got connected. I want to say.
Yeah, 2
years ago. And yeah, no, like I'm just excited to be here. I'm very, very humble. Come from humble beginnings. I'm not gonna rant and rave too much about myself and what all I've done. But yeah, man, thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. But let's start from like the beginning. You were talking about growing up, because the whole point about this is like my mission through the 700 Men Club and the nonprofit is growing men. Like the whole slogan is growing men to become their biggest asset, right? And then in like your situation, you're talking about growing up in a single family household with your mom. Like there was no, I'm assuming there was no dad, no stepdad,
Yeah,
or
no.
was it just
So
your mom?
my father figure is my grandpa and my uncle.
Nice.
So they were my male influences growing up, and very blessed to have both of them in my life. But yeah, I don't know who my dad is. Never met him. But I feel like I've done pretty well without him. But I had strong male influences for sure.
No, that's dope. And I feel like, and again, that's what we're trying to build, because I've always said, like one of the biggest issues, like with single family household, is not having that male figure in the house. Because when we grow up, like I had my dad in my life, but like I always said I had a great basketball coach in my life, but there were certain things my father didn't teach me to be a father, right? And I think that's something, and we could talk about it with your son. Like you go through that and you're like, man, I want to be X, Y, and Z for my kids because I didn't have it. Like with what you went through growing up and not having your dad there, but it's great that you have father figures. You see yourself kind of doing the same for your son. Like, man, my dad didn't get to do X, Y, and Z for me, so I want to make sure I'm there for my son.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's one of my biggest motivations, right? I knew, like, as I became a young adult, that I wanted to have a big family. Like, I grew up in a big family. I have a bunch of cousins. We all grew up in a tight knit community. Like, my great grandfather inherited a bunch of land. I want to say like
Nice.
12 acres. He had 7 kids. 6 of his kids built homes on the land right
That's
next to
dope.
each other. So, and that's my grandparents, right? Everybody lived next to each other. So I grew up around a lot, like a big family, right? And my grandpa, he was the only male. So he was like the second youngest out of 6 sisters that he had, right? So when you have a lot of sisters, you can assume that there's going to be a lot of kids around, right? So, but yeah, no, the fact that like how I grew up and coming as a young adult, I knew I wanted to have a big family. I knew I wanted to have a close-knit family, and I knew I wanted to be a strong presence in my children's lives, right? So I had my son about 2 years ago. He'll be 2 in a couple of months, and that forever changed my life. I wasn't necessarily expecting or preparing to have a kid. I wasn't preparing or expecting to have a son, but when he was born, it was just it was a life-changing event for me, and it shifted things. And I knew from that moment, even before that moment, I knew that I wanted to be in his life. I wanted to make sure that I was there to support him. I wanted to make sure that he grew up in a better situation, a more complete, situation than I did. He had the things that he needed in life, um, and I just wanted to be an example for him, and yeah, how I came up. Being the oldest of four, like I had to grow up really fast. Like I had my mom put a lot of responsibility on me from a young age. She worked multiple jobs to take care of us. I was constantly staying at home watching my younger sisters. When
So
my brother came.
you're the only boy. You it's all sisters.
No, so I have two younger twin sisters, and then I
Oh
have
wow.
my youngest brother.
Okay, okay.
He didn't come till I was about 13, and we were kind of like in a way better place in life, I would say. But it
Nice.
was definitely tough. Like my mom, she had me when she was 19, right?
That's
And
crazy.
she had my sisters by the time she was 22. So my mom had three kids by the age of 22. Single mom. My father, who knows? My sister's dad wasn't around at the time. So it was just her. And then my grandparents. My grandparents played a huge part in my life too. So, um, yeah, so like very early on, I had to mature, I had to grow, I had to work at an early age. I had to, be in a way like the a man of the house. I won't say
Yeah.
the man of the house, but like a man of the house. And yeah, it's just kind of coming up in that environment. I just want to make sure that my son has it a little bit different, right? Different than I had it.
Yeah, I mean, what is it about the age of 19? So my dad had me at 19. I had my oldest at 19. Something about that 19, man. But let's go into that because I felt like, so we didn't come from money either. We were in Section 8 housing like most of our lives, until they started proving everybody. I always joke around. We went from Section 8 to homeowners to foreclosure in like a 5 or 6 year period with no financial literacy being taught at the home. So like when I was 13, same thing. I was door knocking to try to bring in money because there's certain things I wanted. Obviously, I couldn't really ask my parents for it. You know what I mean? So I became an entrepreneur at a very young age, and then I just heard you saying the same, and I feel like I can only speak for myself, but like I learned a lot growing up, just from a young age on trying to be an entrepreneur. Can you talk kind of about yourself when you were, say you were working at an early age and things like do you think that transition why you're so good at what you do in business now?
I would say so. Like a lot of it comes from my grandfather, right? So again, my grandfather being the only male in his family, he's always been like the person that everybody looks to and relies on. He was the guy going cutting everybody's grass, fixing everybody's plumbing, homes. I mean, my grandpa he was actually the only person out of his siblings that built his home. Everyone else got like
Oh
modular
wow,
craft homes or like double whites. He built his home like with red
bare
brick.
hands. That's
So he
dope.
built the foundation, everything. So um, I think like a lot of how I am as an entrepreneur that was influenced by him because from what I remember when I from what I can think back, my grandpa he retired at an early age. He used to work for Norfolk and Southern Railroad, and from Virginia, like that's what you have two options. You either go into blue collar, you work at the railroad, or you go into like medical, like healthcare,
Oh wow.
right? That's all you got in where I'm from. Other than that, it's a bunch of BS. So he retired early and got disability because he was having back problems. He was having a lot of physical like health issues, right? And so from what I remember, he had started or when I was growing up, he had a landscaping business and he had a cleaning business, like a janitorial business. So he would clean like big office buildings. He would cut grass, plow snow, um, you know, blow leaves. Like he would do everything, right? And he had me out there like I don't know. I want to say I was like 5, 6, 7 years old helping him, especially with the buildings. I remember mopping floors at 7 years old
That's dope.
at a paper factory. Like this, I can't remember exactly what they did. I just know they printed paper, and so I learned very early on like the values of working hard and working for what you want. Like I didn't really, get to have anything that I wanted per se. I had to work for it. So if I wanted back when Game Boys were a popular thing, if
Yeah.
I wanted a new game, I had to go cut some grass, because games were like $40 for those little cartridges, right? I had to pay for that. If I wanted shoes, like Nikes or Jordans, Jordans were like starting to become popular around that time. Like I had to go and work for that. So I think just having him in my life and him like forcing me to grow up early and learn how to like go after the things that I want on my own and working for those things. and not being expected for things to be handed to me. My younger sisters, they had everything handed to them. I mean, but they're, they're girls, right? They're
Yeah.
twins. They're like the first twins in the family, so
Oh, that's
everybody was
dope.
all like spoiling them. But I had to do things the hard way. But looking back on it, I didn't understand it then. Like I thought it was unfair. I didn't like it. But looking back on it, I see like, okay, that played a major part in the success that I have found now from an early age by my grandfather being the person to like be tough on me,
Yeah, for
right,
sure.
and not let me have it easy. They were doing well. My grandparents always did well. They obviously helped out my mom and my siblings out a lot. Also have an uncle that has some stuff going on around that time too. Um, so I think it just comes back to, again, like it's important, like you said, having that a strong male figure in your life, whether it's a father, grandfather, uncle, or just even like a close family friend, cousin. Like I think it's very important that you have someone that you can look up to, and that can instill that discipline, that work ethic, and that tough environment, at least for a boy, right? I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
it's
for
definitely
sure.
needed.
Not like, and it's so funny that you were talking about, was he purposely teaching you those lessons or not? And I always say, that was big for me because when I was 13 and I told you I was door knocking, I was cutting grass also in
Mm-hmm.
our neighborhood, and I always joke around. I was like, I don't know if my dad did this on purpose or not, but I was charging like 25 a lawn, and then I only got to keep like $5 a lawn, right? Same thing. I was like, man, this is unfair. This is
I was using a
bullshit.
push mower on the
That's
hills,
what I was
bro.
doing.
Get paid $20 to cut five
Uh,
yards. So I'm like, I get 20. That's it.
oh man, it was tough. I'll never forget. There was one lawn. It took me out. Like I got dehydrated, threw up, everything. The grass was like this high, and I was using a push mower, so I had to like push. It was, and I still like we charged her like 35, and I only got to keep $10.
Mm-hmm.
So I always joke around. I was like, I don't know, was he teaching me a lesson? Because in business we see this. Too many people think, let's say that the business made 100 grand a year. They think they personally made 100 grand a year, and that's not how it works.
No.
And that's somebody not truly teaching them finances. So I was joking around. I was like, I don't know if he did this on purpose or not, but I learned
Mm-hmm.
like whatever money comes into the business is not yours, and you have to delegate and make sure you understand finances and how it all works to be successful. Because I had to buy, oh man, I want a pair of Jordans. I only get to keep like $5 a lawn. Back then they were only like what, like 80, like back in the 90s they were like $80 or
They
something
weren't
like
$200.
that. So like, you know what I mean? Okay, I gotta cut this many lawns. Boom, I get to keep this much money so I can get my first pair of Jordans.
Mm-hmm.
But again, like I think those lessons are super important. I feel like that helped make you the man that you are today because you run a very successful business in the finance space, and I think a lot of that needs to be taught to entrepreneurs now. I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs start their journey and they don't truly understand finances. They come to us because we're both in the finance space, and this is what I love, man. Is we collaborate on a lot. We're both in the same industry, but we collaborate a lot, and I feel like too many people don't do that. But we talk about files, and clients come to us all the time, and I'm sure you see this. They don't understand finances at all, but they're asking us to get the money.
Mm-hmm.
And like, what do you think would be super important for them? Because I think fatherhood, male figure, and finances in the household are super important. So where do you feel like teaching finances and understanding finances, how important that is, not just for the household, but for entrepreneurs?
Yeah, so I was saying that lack of financial literacy, can't talk, lack of financial literacy is at an all-time high, right?
Yep.
And you and I both know, we've done our research, we've been around the block, like we know that's by design, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not going to dive into
Go
that
there.
rabbit hole today, but it is important because the reality is, like, we live in an economy that's influenced by how well you know your finances, how good are you with your decision making when it comes to your finances, and that plays a major impact on your life. Money is not necessarily everything, but it does provide a means to an end. It is a tool. It does provide a better lifestyle, or at least gives you more opportunity with what you're trying to do for yourself or your family. And it's so I would say, I mean, it's definitely very important that at an early age that you start to at least understand the basics of finances. Credit is one of the big things. Me and you are involved in
Yeah.
credit. How important your credit is, and how important it is for you to keep it solid, and what type of opportunity when by having good credit brings you in your life. You want a home, you want a nice car, or maybe you want a fancy car, maybe you want a fancy home. you want, an opportunity to do something with yourself when it comes to business or entrepreneurship, then credit plays a major factor, right? I also think it's important just from a standpoint of just having some basic knowledge on just managing your finances, right? We live in a consumer economy where, we're being advertised to every day. Buy this, get the
Yeah.
new iPhone, upgraded every 9 months. You need this, you need that, you need. I don't know. Like I barely pay attention to what's being put out there
No, it's true
nowadays,
though.
but it's all over the place though. Like you need the new stuff, and the reality is, you have to look at it from a standpoint like, hey, somebody is making money out of this transaction, and someone is spending money out of this transaction. How does this decision that I'm making on whatever it is I'm spending or investing into, how does that impact me? Does it impact me positively? Does it impact me negatively? Or does it not impact me at all?
Yeah,
Right.
1,000%.
So I think it's even just having a basic understanding of just kind of seeing things for what they are, and understanding that, hey, if you have certain types of goals that you want to reach for yourself, or you have a certain type of lifestyle that you see yourself with your family, that you need to have at least a basic understanding of how to manage your finances, how to manage your credit, how to make sure you don't, put yourself in a financial hole or a situation that you got to climb out of.
Yeah, for sure.
Where debt is at an all-time high, credit card debt's at an
Yeah, I
all-time
was
high,
saying that to my wife the other day.
defaults are at an all-time high, and
Repos.
repos at an all-time
I think
high.
it was like 3 million repos last year.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, bro, we're on the verge of a crunch in the automotive industry, right?
Yeah.
So, but the thing is, if people had a basic understanding of how debt works and how to responsibly manage their debt, I think a lot of people would be in a better situation. Yeah, we have our, lack of opportunity in jobs, and jobs are being, taken away from us, and you got the AI scare, AI's taking jobs. Like, yeah, all that is happening, but at the same time, people have to take some responsibility
Yes.
for their own actions and their own decisions when it comes to their finances. A lot of people they make enough to live a certain type of standard, a basic standard for themselves.
Yep.
But people, they overstretch themselves because they want to be seen in a certain way. They want to be thought of in a certain way. They want to impress people that don't
Even
really
care
care
about them.
about what
Yeah.
you're doing in the first place. So, and it's, you'll see people online talk about this all the time. Like, yeah, that's obvious. Like, we're not saying anything that people don't already know, but the reason that people continue to say this stuff because it's true,
Yeah.
because it's facts. Like, you really have to take a hard look at yourself and say, okay, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing right? What do I need to do better? What do I need to learn? What do I need to change? Because if nothing changes, if you don't change anything,
Nothing
then
changes.
nothing changes at all.
Nothing changes, nothing
Right.
changes.
Yeah.
I'm big on that too. Like I try to tell my clients when we're helping them with their credit. So a couple things. I feel like in credit, like a lot of the clients that I speak to that need help with their credit, I notice a couple things. One, they don't like to take accountability for what
Facts.
actions put them in that situation.
Yep.
And sometimes I think that's the biggest fault, like us as humans. Something that I'm real big on is I blame myself for everything.
Mhm.
Like every transaction that doesn't go right, every business deal that doesn't go right, every business partnership that doesn't go right. I rather blame myself, take accountability, and then see where I could learn from it to get better. So like any situation, I was like, all right, cool. How can I improve? Like accountability. Take accountability on your credit. Things do happen. People lose their jobs. I spoke to a person one time. Everything was going great in their life, so they thought, lost their job. They got like a divorce. Everything just crumbled at once, and boom, put them in a bad situation. Stuff happens. But a lot of the clients that I speak to, and then boom, negative accounts are coming off, and they're still not happy. It's like, you're not taking any accountability on what got you here.
Yep.
So first step, take accountability on what got you there, and then a plan of action to make sure you're not there again.
Yep.
So one of the things like that we do is we give them like a spreadsheet. Here's all your income, here's all your assets, here's all your liabilities, here's all your expenses. Put all your numbers in, look at it every single month, put an action plan together every single month, and see how close you can stick to that action plan. Now you're like building habits. And I think credit, the reason so many people are scared of debt is because they don't build those healthy habits. So when they get access to the debt, they're still using those healthy habits to be productive.
Mhm.
And I feel like, especially like in our industry, we see people all the time, oh, I need 100K, I need 200K or whatever. Then they come back to us needing their credit fixed because they messed it up. It's like, no, build those healthy habits along the way so that way you can be more productive. Because like you were talking about like investments and stuff. If an investment goes bad, it shouldn't cripple you.
No, yeah.
You should have other actionable items in place. You don't put all your eggs in one basket. If that investment goes bad, just pivot. You know what I mean? But I think that's part of that financial literacy that you were talking about. Like they're not doing all of those things. Oh, fix my credit. Okay, then what? You know what I mean? They don't know what to
What's your
do
plan
next.
after that? Yeah.
Exactly. And I think and again, we do a lot of business together, especially like helping business owners get access to capital, and that's a trend that I see a lot. And that's one thing I love working with. So Lamar's team handles like a lot of my back end for the business credit cards that we get. Like I'm not ashamed to say it. Like we partner on a lot of things because I trust you. I've been screwed over by a lot of people, but I trust you because from this thought process that we both have, right? And that's one of the things that we talk about with our clients is making sure they know what they're doing with the money. And the reason I'm so passionate and I'm kind of rambling and going on about it is because my nonprofit, like that's what we want to focus on, is making sure that the finances in the household are in order. So like all the steps that I talked about is something that I bring into my nonprofit because I feel like if you fix the finances in the household, like there's a lot of problems that can be fixed. And if a lot of problems in finances could be avoided from the house, like you have happier marriages or healthier relationships, less single families raising kids.
There's a stat out there, and I don't know the exact stat, but I remember I've seen it all over. I think the number one cause for divorce
Finances.
is over finances.
It leads to like a lot of other problems. And I'm real big on like mental health. Got backstory on my nonprofit why I started it. Back in 2022, I unfortunately lost a really good friend of mine. He took his life. And ever since, it's not like a rabbit hole. I'm just always trying to be more aware. And I notice a lot of men with their finances, they like, because they're not financially literate, they start making certain decisions with finances, not really knowing what they're doing. And then it just makes it worse for the household and the family. So it's like really big that everyone in the household understands finances to avoid that statistic because it happens a lot in our neighborhoods too. Like it's really, really bad. That's one of the main reasons like my parents split. My dad dropped out of high school at 14 years old. Nobody was really teaching him finances. That's why I joke around Section 8, homeowner foreclosure and such, a short period. But it taught me like now I'm more aware of financial literacy and like, I want your opinion on this. Like, I feel like if we can at least help with that, statistically, we can put, or at least help all those divorce. We're not gonna fix divorce rates. I'm not saying that, but from my perspective on wanting to help with that, do you feel like that's a big reasoning from people you've seen not having financial literacy to like mess things up in business and the household and everything?
Yeah, I think it's huge, and you touched on a lot of things. I think financial literacy is one of the most important, knowledge, things that you can have in life overall. Whether it's just you, whether it's you and your family, etc. Right? And I think with with people taking the time out and investing the time and investing into themselves to actually learn can do a lot of good for a lot of people and a lot of families, right? Like you just said, you're a prime example. Your parents split up. It had a lot to do with finances. Your dad dropped out of high school at a very early age. He didn't really, get to even the end of the basic finances they teach us, right? And like I said, they're the number one reason for divorces out there is over finances. And I think, I don't know the stat, but I think a lot of people that have like taken their lives, I would say finances is a major factor there too, just based off my opinion, my assumption of what I do know. So I think that is a great start. It can change a lot of lives in a lot of different ways because, you know, like it sucks that like we live in a society where everything is kind of like controlled and ruled and determined by money and your finances, but the reality is that is like the way we live. And I think it's if people can kind of start to either educate themselves and kind of detach themselves from what is portrayed of how we're supposed to live our lives or what's supposed to be important and what matters, and get back to just focusing on themselves, their family, their kids, etc., and this their circle of influence, their little bubble, I think can go a long way. And finances is a big part of that. Um, Credit is a big part of that. That's one of the things. So you brought up, like, I love that you guys go extra mile with your clients and set them up like a tracker to help track their finances, because I think a lot of people in our
They don't even
space,
know what they spend
they
on money.
don't a lot of people in our space don't do anything like that. They just like, oh, I can fix your credit, I can do it fast, and they're just trying to
Illegally.
hustle. They're just trying to hustle a
uh,
transaction. Let's be real, you know. I think, and I say this all the time. I don't necessarily like talk to a lot of people about credit repair nowadays. Like I have a team for that. So anyone that wants to talk about credit repair, like I usually have them book a call with our team. Unless they absolutely want to speak to me, then I'm not too good to speak to anybody. Like I've been talking to this guy recently on Facebook, and he was telling me about his goals, his problems with his credit, what he has going on, and I told him like, hey, like I can fix. We can fix these things. We can remove these
hmm
collections and these charge offs. That's our responsibility, but your responsibility is to handle everything else. Like just us removing these items is
Doesn't
not
do
going
it
to change what got you here. You have to make sure you don't get here again,
again.
right? You have to make sure that nothing else pops up. Like you don't take another collection. You have to make sure that your stuff stays on time. And I keep it real with people. Like I could care. It's not that I could care less. It's when I'm talking to someone about something that I know can impact their lives directly, and obviously there is an investment required. I don't chase them down. I don't beg them. I don't convince them. I don't coerce them. I pitch you one time, right? I'll go over the pricing based on whatever we see. If you want to start, great. We'll get you going. We'll get you onboarded. And we've been doing this for a very long time. Like we're proven, we're tested, we're reputable. Our results, show
Speak for
what we've
himself.
done.
Yep.
So I have nothing to worry about when I put a client through to our team. But if they don't, then I'm not going to chase them down because hey, you're not ready to make that change, you're not ready to make the impact, and I can't make it for you. But what I do go through with everybody is I keep it very, very real with them. If they're asking for a bunch of money and their credit is not where it needs to be, or even if we fix their credit and I know it's still not gonna be where it needs to be, I keep it real with them. I'm like, hey, it's gonna take some time for you to build up to the point where you can, buy a $500,000 home or acquire, $250,000 in financing. It's gonna take time for you to get there. And not only is it going to take time for you to get there, it's going to take discipline on your part to make sure that you don't, again, make these same mistakes you've made in the past, and also building good habits towards the point where you can handle a
Yep.
$250,000, right, or a $500,000 home. The credit I used to, before I got into the space, I used to be on the side of the credit system was unfair, right? A long time ago, I was like 19, 20 years old. I wanted to get there was a certain car I wanted to get. It was a sports car. It wasn't like a supercar or exotic, but I wanted it. And I'm the type of person, like when I want something, I'm going to find a way to get it, and I really want it. And when I went to apply for it, I thought I was making good money, which I was. I was getting paid under the table, so I didn't have any like
No.
verifiable income. And I thought my credit was good, which it was until I found out that someone took out a credit card out under my name, and I
Oh
didn't know that until I was going to
man.
buy the car. But long story short, the point that I'm making is, um, even when I found a way to get that car, I did, but I was paying basically a mortgage to drive it
Man,
at 19
people are
years old. I was
killing me.
paying $500 a month on the car note, and I was paying $1,000 a month on
Insurance?
insurance.
That's
That's because I
nuts.
was doing stupid stuff younger with less fast cars, right? And I ended up only having that car for a year. And the reason I only ended up having that car for a year is one, I got two not wow, I got two reckless drivings.
I was gonna say, man, don't
I
admit
got two reckless
that.
drivings in the car, so insurance obviously went up even more. And two, I just like 19 years old paying $1,500 for a car. I couldn't
That's
afford
nuts.
it, but I didn't know any better, right? I just thought, oh, I was making good money. My credit was decent. Like I can do this, right? It took me going through that experience. That car I turned it in. 'Cause I was told if you turn in a car, it doesn't
Yeah,
count for
nah,
repossession.
shit.
No, that's not
we
repossession.
we know that's bullshit. You know
I
what I
learned the
mean?
hard way. So I turned it in, and I didn't finance honestly another vehicle for almost a decade. Like
Wow.
my cars that I have now are probably the first couple of cars I financed since that. But between that, I was buying cars cash. Also, it was very expensive for me just to have insurance just because of my driving record too. So like it didn't make sense for me to finance anything. But I had to learn and build habits and understand you know, I had to rebuild my credit from that standpoint. Two, I had to understand that just because I'm making good money doesn't necessarily mean I can afford something. Like there's absolutely no reason why anyone should be paying or at 20 years old $1,000 plus a month for a car. Like that's just
No,
not like
no,
today.
it's
I
not
would not do that
financially
today,
literate. No, not at
right? I would
all.
not do that today. But as a kid, I didn't know any better. I was just like, oh, I'm making like 1,000 a week. I can do that. The problem is I couldn't do a lot of other things. I was like, plus that car was a premium. Like I had to put premium gas in it. I can't remember what war. There was something going on where gas prices were super high. I was paying like $5 a gallon. Long story short, though, the point that I'm making is like I had to educate myself, not just on how important my credit was, so I can get a better rate. Because I also didn't get great rates on that car.
No, I
I found a
bet.
way to
Yeah.
get it done, but I did not get great rates. I had to educate myself on how I could get better credit so I could finance something that I really wanted, and also I had to learn how to manage my finances better. A kid 19 years old making $1,000 a week, back in 2012 2013 was a lot of money.
No, for sure.
It's not much now, but it was a lot of money then. So I had to learn the hard way and how to develop habits, and I had to educate myself, and I had to understand that just because I make good money doesn't mean I can necessarily afford something. I have to think about the long term, right? That job I was working, I think I only ended up working there for another 9 months. So I
Oh,
lost
damn.
that income too. So I didn't even plan for the fact that, hey, I have this car note for 60 months, $500 a month that I got to pay, and insurance that I got to pay. And that's not getting any cheaper. It's only getting more
Yeah.
expensive because I'm doing stupid stuff and making stupid decisions, right? Um, so, anyways, not to get too sidetracked, the point that I'm making is anytime I talk to someone with credit, I tell them, like, I keep it real with them. We're gonna, like, I can handle our side of what we have to do, but you still have to. There's still things that you're gonna have to go through. You're gonna have to educate yourself.
Yeah,
You're gonna have to
you
make sure you
gotta
don't put yourself back in this position. You're gonna have to make sure that, um, you're building good habits. And then I'll be real with you. Hey, you're not going to qualify for this amount of money until you can prove that you can manage, smaller amounts of money, like a
Yeah.
$5,000 loan or
People
$5,000
people
credit
don't
card.
understand that. Like they're like, oh, I want 100, 200. I try to break it down to be as simple as possible. If you can't handle 5,000, how are you gonna handle 100?
Yeah,
Like that's how banks are looking at it. Everybody gets all sidetracked. Oh, you could do this play, this, that. It's like, yeah, but that's fine and all, but like don't put yourself in a situation where it's gonna hurt you more than help you. Like you said, building those habits are super important. And like people don't break everything down. If I take a 5 year note, 60-month note, and I'm paying 13, 14, 50% interest, like nobody's really breaking that down on how much more you're spending. If you just invest in one, your credit, like there's a huge difference in paying like 2, 3% on a car note opposed to paying 13. I've seen 19% on a car note for like 5 years. And then I was talking to a client who was trying to get a house. I was like, let's fix your credit first. Oh, but I can get approved for this house. I don't know, it was like 7% or something like that. I was like, you realize an extra 1 or 2% for 30 years is a couple $100,000, right?
mm-hmm.
They're like, no, no way. I was like, all right, fine. Call me a liar. I don't care. Let's go to the
Pull the
calculator.
calculator out.
Right? And we broke it down. And for the same house, bro, she was paying triple
Mm-hmm.
of what the house was. I was like, is it worth it? Absolutely not. I was like, so, this little couple grand that you're going to pay to fix your credit and invest in yourself to make sure you save a couple $100,000, is it worth it? Yes. Okay, then. While we're doing this, let's build those healthy habits so the banks can now trust you. Because you could take everything off your credit and still not get approved for it. And
Yeah,
people,
fast.
like, they go, I have an 800 credit score. Yeah, but you know what I mean? You haven't proven that you can actually handle money.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So the last thing I want to talk about, we talked about credit, finances, and stuff like that. I really want to talk about this event. I'm so honored, that you came. We have a couple good guys coming to the event. So basically, the event is hosted by us, 700 Men Club. We have a major sponsor, My Free Score Now, who you actually introduced me to, and I'm really thankful for that. They're the ones who get us all of our data and a credit monitoring service that's top notch and really helps us from the credit repair standpoint and also for funding because we get a lot of data points. But the whole event is we brought in a bunch of male entrepreneurs in hopes to inspire the new generation of young men, right? These kids are anywhere from 10 to 17 years old, the at-risk youth. But I always feel like that's the next generation, right? I know I didn't have access to talking to, I never fathomed ever making $1 million. Like the first time our company did, like I was just shocked. Like it's almost like, is this real? I took a company from 0 to 1.3 million in 10 months right after my car accident, and I couldn't believe it. Right? That's because I never spoke to anybody who's ever made $1 million in
Mm-hmm.
ever. Like I was a big basketball fan, and I seen NBA players and that, but no one ever talked to me about it. And I think that's my goal with this event is a couple of us have made $1 million in our businesses, and I think it's super important to teach the next generation that it's possible, you know. But yeah, like I want to talk about the event going on tomorrow, and how you feel like you being one of the ones now at your level being able to talk to someone. Let's say you were talking to yourself at 10 to 17 years old, and what you would tell them, you know what I mean, about what's possible, believing in yourself, and how to handle entrepreneurship.
You know, what I love that you've done with this event, and this is not to take anything away from anybody, no matter what position they are in their life, but you made a strong point. Like, it's very important that when you, like you said, like, we didn't have, people that made millions of dollars, multi-millions that we could talk to or come and talk to
Even
us
ask a
and just,
question.
yeah, or just even ask a question
Yeah.
to, right? So I love that you put this event together and you brought a lot of powerful, strong male influences that have found success in their life, and you got a great lineup, a lot of different people from a lot of different backgrounds, walks of life, a lot of different industries, mixed in, and I think that's very important because you know a lot of a lot of schools, what they'll do is they'll get like an athlete or a celebrity to come in, which is cool, great,
Yeah.
that like they still go through their trials and their tribulations and their challenges to get to where they're at too, right? And they can provide a lot of value, and it's easy to like gravitate towards the athlete. But I love that you got a group of people in business, not just athletes, like a good mixture, because it kind of shows like the different lanes you can go
Yeah.
in. Growing up as a kid, I don't know about you, but for me, I wanted to be a professional football player.
I
And
thought I was gonna
up
be an
until I got
NBA.
cut from my from the school that I went to play football at, that's what I thought I was going to do. Or at least I kind of had a reality check at my senior year in high school when my recruiting wasn't what I thought it was going to be, but like I got a reality check. So, and from there, like honestly, the next couple of years of my life, I wouldn't say I was lost, but I was doing degenerate stuff. Like I
Yeah,
had
yeah,
no,
no,
I had no
1,000%.
vision, no goal, no focus. I was just just a leaf blowing in the wind, right? And it wasn't until I started to, funny enough, I joined a network marketing company. The first company I joined was called Amway, which is, I'm
It's
sure
still
a lot of people in Orlando are
around.
familiar with Amway. They used to be the title sponsor
Yeah,
for
for the Orlando Magic. Yep.
yeah. And I started getting around people, men and women, that were trying to build, a business, that, were trying to do something different, that were trying to make a change. And I didn't like see that side. I didn't see business people growing up. I didn't have, 7 and 8 figure earners that I was in the same room in that I could talk to or even just listen to, right? So I love that you brought a wide range of people here, because maybe not everybody wants to be an athlete.
That's true.
Maybe people just want to find some success, or maybe they just haven't realized that there are other things out there outside of being a celebrity or an athlete, right? So I think it's great that you got a strong group of men. I'm familiar with a lot of the names that are going to be here tomorrow, to come and honestly, I never thought that I would be in a position where I would be able to give back to youth myself, or speak in front of a room. For a long time, I was just, like I said, I just wanted to be an athlete. Like I didn't care about anything else besides cracking people's heads.
Yeah.
But now that I've grown up, I've had a kid. I have a lot of people that I'm responsible for within my company. I love that I get the opportunity to come and just kind of pour into people that I can relate to, similar backgrounds as me, and just kind of show them that, hey, there are a lot of different ways, a lot of different paths, and you don't have to be a victim of your circumstance or a victim of your environment. You can do whatever it is that you want to do. You just
Thousand
have to
percent.
trust in yourself, trust in God, and just know that whatever it is that you want in this life, you can have it, you can achieve it. And I'm a prime example of that. I didn't have any type of, there's no one in my family that has any type of success or has made $1 million or even owns their own company that's doing well. I come from like just A big family that I think everybody's gone into, like honestly, healthcare. That's a majority of my family, right?
Yeah, they
Um,
think I'm crazy because I'm an entrepreneur doing all this stuff. I'm like, all right, like, but how do you get to travel here? I was like, because I do the crazy entrepreneur journey. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
facts. And so I'm like I said at the beginning, I'm very honored, I'm very blessed, and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to come and speak. And I'm looking forward to just trying to get back as much as I can, pour in as much as I can.
Yeah, and that's what I the goal and the passion was. Some kids want to be an athlete, some kids want to get in finance, some kids want to get into real estate. We got one of my guys, Brendan Boyd, who he's teaching people how to turn podcasting into profits, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's just so many different ways to make money, and my goal was to show that to the kids.
Mm-hmm.
Cause like, man, like there's certain kids, like same thing with me. I thought I was gonna play basketball, shake and bake from the Harlem Globetrotters. Used to watch me in high school. I had a kid, same thing, really early at 19 years old, so that kind of went out the window. He's like, "You want to play internationally?" It's like, I don't know. I got a kid. I got to take care of his mom. I got to take care of my mom, my brother, because my
Mm-hmm.
dad had left at the time. So it's like all those dreams went away, and if I never regret the path that I went, because I felt like the path that I went allowed me to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Because I felt like if I had a mentor back then, maybe I'm not doing this. Who knows? But I feel like it was my calling, especially after my car accident and everything. It really woke me up. Like, man, you gotta. I'm blessed to have a lot of relationships. Like, how do you know this person? This person, family office is worth hundreds of millions of dollars. We do business together, and how we met was funny. Like, it was, Richard introduced us.
Yep.
And I feel like this is, as much as I love the finance industry, I love my nonprofit so much more, because I feel like at tomorrow's event, if we can impact just one of those young men to impact his own community and create a leader within, like, I felt like I did my job.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And then he could sit there when he's older and he does the same thing. And now we're creating small little leaders within communities
Mm-hmm.
to where, there's more opportunities for people. Because like you said, I think, especially now, like I said, there's 3 million repos last year. That's might not change this year. It might just get worse this year. We're both in the same finance space. We see it. A lot of people were in the worst credit card debt that we've ever seen. So, like, we need leaders who at least educate themselves, understand the situation, and provide solutions. And I hope tomorrow's event, like, we could do that, inspire at least one of those young men. I've spoken to them before. I know they're super excited and happy. They text the owner of the organization, text me all the time. She's like, "Man, they're so excited." So I'm really excited. But more than that, I'm honored, to have people like you and all the guests that are coming to really speak to these kids. So you're my first guest, man. So I really want to thank you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, thanks for
coming
having
in.
me. Appreciate it, man.
Again, this is Hector Perdomo, owner, founder, 700 Men Club and Angel Business Inc. This is Grown Man Talk with 700 Men Club. Until the next episode, thank you guys for tuning in.